Have you ever stopped for a minute and asked yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? Every day, we're caught up in work, family, and the usual worries of life, rarely paying attention to the subtle changes our bodies quietly signal to us. But what if one day you notice a strange smell, not from the world around you, but from your own breath, sweat, or urine? What would you do? You might think, maybe I ate something weird, or I'll switch soaps tomorrow and it'll go away. But what happens if those smells aren't just random? What if they're warnings from deep inside, alerting you to a dangerous enemy like cancer silently growing within? No, this isn't a horror story to keep you up at night. It's a truth uncovered by science. Your body has a natural alarm system, and smells are one of the ways it talks to you. When cancer, that silent killer claiming millions of lives each year, starts to form, it throws everything off, from how you digest food to how your cells function. The result? Special chemical compounds called VOCs, volatile organic compounds, are produced and escape through your skin, breath, or even your stool. They're like chemical footprints cancer leaves behind, tiny, but packed with meaning. Even more amazing, science is proving this isn't just a theory. Did you know that trained dogs can detect cancer, from lung cancer to skin cancer, with astonishing accuracy, sometimes even before modern machines can spot it? Scientists are even developing electronic noses to mimic this ability, promising a future where cancer might be diagnosed with a single breath. But right now, while that technology isn't in your hands, your own sensitivity to your body is your most powerful weapon. In today's video, we're revealing 10 unusual smells linked to cancer that most people overlook, from a deceptively sweet scent to a harsh, unpleasant stench. This isn't just knowledge, it could be the key to saving your life or the life of someone you love. Stick around until the end to discover them all, because every second you pay attention could be a second you snatch back from death's grip. Let's get started. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please support us by hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, type 1 in the comments. If you don't, type 0, so I know and can improve future videos for you. And don't forget to share your thoughts about this content. Now, let's begin. 1. A moldy smell in your breath, a sign of mouth and throat cancer. Have you ever caught a moldy smell wafting from your own breath? Not the garlicky bad breath after a meal, but a damp, musty odor, like opening an old book forgotten in a dark basement? Mouth and throat cancer don't knock on your door with sharp pain or obvious lumps. They creep in quietly, like an uninvited guest, leaving their first clue in that moldy scent. If it clings to you, even after brushing until your arm aches or rinsing until your throat burns, don't brush it off. It might be your body's last whisper before things get too late. Lisa, a 45-year-old banker from suburban San Diego, never imagined she'd find herself in this situation. A caring mom of 2 with a fondness for sipping red wine every Saturday night, she took pride in her orderly life. But one fall morning in 2023, as she brewed coffee in her kitchen, Lisa noticed a strange smell in her breath, not the lingering wine from the night before, but a moldy whiff, like her grandma's old wooden house on a rainy day. She chuckled to herself, probably just tired from working late, and rushed into her day of calls and paperwork. But the smell wouldn't leave. 2 weeks passed, then 3. She switched to the strongest mint toothpaste, tried saltwater rinses, even ditched the wine, but that moldy scent lingered, like a ghost that wouldn't fade. Then her voice grew hoarse, forcing her to clear her throat constantly during client presentations. A small sore appeared inside her cheek, not painful, but it wouldn't heal after over 2 weeks. The breaking point came when Sarah, her close coworker, pulled her aside during lunch and whispered, "Lisa, your breath smells off today. Are you okay?" That question hit her like a punch to the gut, shattering her ability to pretend any longer. That moldy smell is no laughing matter. Mouth and throat cancer start as a tiny invader, wreaking havoc in the delicate lining of your mouth. It could stem from the HPV virus from an old kiss or those cigarettes and drinks you once thought were harmless, according to the National Cancer Institute. As tissue dies, a process called necrosis, it turns your mouth into a breeding ground for anaerobic bacteria, the kind that thrive in dark, oxygen-free corners. These bacteria nibble at the tissue, releasing sulfur and aldehydes, compounds that rise up with a moldy stench, like rotting wood or damp earth after a long rain. A 2019 study in the Journal of Breath Research stunned scientists. That smell can be detected by machines before a tumor grows big enough to show up on an endoscope. In other words, when you smell it, your body's been sending an SOS for a while. Pay attention to more than just the smell. If your voice sounds hoarse, like a singer after a long show, and it doesn't improve, if swallowing feels like someone's lightly squeezing your throat, or if small, stubborn sores linger in your mouth for weeks without healing, these aren't coincidences. White or red patches on your tongue, gums, or inner cheeks are suspicious too. Even a vague earache with no clear cause might echo trouble in your throat. When that moldy smell mixes with any of these signs, your body isn't whispering anymore, it's screaming. The American Cancer Society reports that over 50,000 Americans face mouth and throat cancer each year. Nearly a third never return to the family dinner table, not because it's incurable, but because they hear the alarm too late. Catch it early, though, and your 5-year survival odds jump to 85%. Let it linger until the cancer runs wild, and that drops below 40%. As the disease worsens, VOCs in your breath thicken, making the moldy smell more intense, like a final plea, go now, there's still time. Lisa heard that plea. Trembling, she booked an appointment and walked into the endoscopy room with her heart pounding. A biopsy confirmed it, early-stage throat cancer. The doctor said that moldy smell came from a tiny tumor gnawing at her lining. Luckily, she only needed laser surgery and a few weeks of light radiation, no grueling chemo. Now, sitting at the dinner table with her kids, Lisa recalls, I never thought a strange smell would pull me back from the edge. If it weren't for Sarah, if I'd kept telling myself, it's probably fine, I wouldn't be here laughing with them. Don't let your body scream itself hoarse while you ignore it. If your breath carries a moldy smell that won't fade, if your voice grows hoarse, swallowing gets tough, or sores stick around, don't wait another minute. See an ENT doctor or oncologist right away. An endoscopy, biopsy, or CT scan could change your life. Time is gold, and that moldy smell isn't something to joke about, it might be the key to staying with the ones you love. 2. An unusual smell in your stool, a sign of colorectal cancer. James can still smell the smoky aroma of grilled meat from those weekend afternoons in Tampa, Florida. A 52-year-old mechanic, he loved gathering friends in his small garage, sipping cold beer while flipping steaks on the grill, smoke curling up like childhood memories with his granddad. But in the spring of 2022, a different smell crept into James's life, not the familiar char of meat or garage oil, but a foul, rancid stench, like something rotting, hitting him every time he stepped out of the bathroom. Probably too much red meat, he laughed to himself, brushing off the unease to keep fixing tires in Florida's humid heat. Colorectal cancer doesn't show up on an operating table or in a doctor's worried glance right away. It lurks in the shadows, not with dramatic pain or obvious warnings that send you racing to the hospital. But it leaves a clue, a strange, decaying smell in your stool, far beyond the usual shifts from what you ate. If you catch that scent lingering persistently, don't assume it's just your stomach acting up after last night's feast. It could be the hiss of a ticking time bomb counting down in your gut. James had no idea that smell was a sign of a battle ahead. A father of 3 grown kids, he prided himself on his toughness, rarely noticing small bodily changes. But for a month, that rancid stench wouldn't leave, even after he cut back on grilled meat and drank more water, following tips from old health magazines in the garage. Then he started seeing small red streaks in his stool, at first faint, like paint smudges, but soon vivid and bright, making his heart pound. A dull belly ache set in, not sharp, but enough to make him pause while bending to swap tires. His wife, Maria, noticed he smiled less, ate less at dinner. One night, As James grumbled about his stomach again, Maria slammed her spoon on the table. "You're going to the doctor now? I'm not hearing any more excuses." Reluctantly, James nodded, not out of fear, but because of the determined look in the eyes of the woman he'd shared over 20 years with. "Where does that awful smell come from?" Colorectal cancer starts with tiny cracks in your intestinal lining, maybe from silent polyps growing or chronic inflammation tied to James's meat-heavy, veggie-light diet he thought was normal, per the National Cancer Institute. As a tumor forms, it tears through the gut's lining, leaking blood and protein like a buffet for gut bacteria. Especially Fusobacterium, a greedy feeder, dives in, chewing on protein and spitting out hydrogen sulfide, a sulfur compound with a rancid, corpse-like stench from the sewers. A 2021 study in Gut Microbes shed light on it. This Fusobacterium boom alters stool odor, an early warning from the death creeping in your intestines. That smell doesn't travel alone. If you spot blood in your stool, whether bright red like lipstick or dark like old coffee, don't call it trivial. A lingering belly ache, like someone squeezing inside, bloating even when you haven't eaten much, or bowel habits flipping between constipation and diarrhea, these aren't things to shrug off. Dropping weight without dieting, as if your body's melting away, rings another bell. When that decaying smell blends with these symptoms, it's not a cry for help anymore, it's a desperate scream from your gut. The CDC says colorectal cancer claims over 50,000 American lives yearly, not because it's untreatable, but because people often only hear the scream when it's too late. Catch it early, and your 5-year survival odds hit 90%. Let it spread, and they plummet below 15%, like a candle flickering out in the wind. Scientists note that as the cancer worsens, VOCs in your stool pile up, sharpening that stench, as if your body's banging on the table, begging, "Do something, now." James didn't let that scream fall silent. Hands shaking, he walked into the hospital for a colonoscopy. The result hit like a hammer: early-stage cancer. The doctor said that decaying smell came from a small tumor growling in his gut. Thanks to Maria, James had surgery to remove the affected colon section, no chemo needed. Months later, back in the garage flipping steaks, he told friends, "I never thought a nasty smell would keep me here. If Maria hadn't pushed, I'd have lost it all, this garage, the kids, these grilling days." Don't let that smell become your last ignored memory. If your stool reeks with a persistent rancid odor, if blood shows up, your belly hurts, or your bathroom habits go haywire, don't sit there telling yourself, "It's probably fine." Get to a doctor fast. A colonoscopy, CT scan, or stool test could save you from an ending no one wants. Colorectal cancer doesn't wait for you to be ready, it's counting down, and only you can hit the stop button. 3. A sweet smell on your skin, a sign of breast cancer. Breast cancer is a common disease, but it's often hard to catch early because initial symptoms aren't obvious. A rare sign few notice is an unusual sweet smell on the skin, not from perfume or regular sweat, but a strange, sometimes unpleasant odor coming from the breast area. If you detect this smell lingering, especially near the breast or from sores, don't assume it's just a hygiene issue. It could be a warning that breast cancer is quietly growing inside you. Emily, a single woman who loved self-care, never thought that sweet smell would mark the start of a nightmare. That morning in Brooklyn, Emily woke to the familiar chill of a New York winter. The alarm mingled with the wind whistling through her small apartment's window as she, a 39-year-old ad agency worker, geared up for a busy day. She stretched, rubbed lavender lotion on her hands, inhaled its gentle scent, and thought, "Today'll be fine." But as she pulled on a sweater, a strange sweet smell drifted by, not her beloved perfume or the sweat from a crowded subway ride. It was like candy forgotten in a coat pocket, slightly off-putting, hovering around her chest. "Maybe the new lotion's weird," she muttered, then dove into the whirlwind of deadlines and cold coffee. At first, she blamed the lavender lotion, "Guess I don't like this scent," and kept typing, the keyboard drowning out her doubts. But for 2 months, that sweet smell wouldn't leave, even after she switched to unscented lotion and showered longer each night. One day, soaping up in the shower, she felt a small, hard lump under her left breast skin, like a pea. Probably just a cyst, she reassured herself, recalling friends' stories. Days later, panic struck when her nipple leaked a pale yellow fluid flecked with blood, like ink spreading on white paper. Fear surging, she dug up old articles on breast cancer she'd skimmed during lunch breaks. Heart racing, she booked a gynecologist appointment for the weekend, no more pretending everything was normal. That sweet smell wasn't random. Breast cancer starts with tiny mutations in milk ducts or lobules, like a rogue seed silently sprouting, per the National Cancer Institute. As the tumor grows, it turns the breast into a bizarre chemical reactor, pressing surrounding tissue, sparking inflammation, and sometimes bursting tiny blood vessels. Blood and fluid spill out, a feast for Staphylococcus bacteria on the skin. These bugs chew away, releasing short-chain fatty acids and ketones, compounds with a sweet smell like burnt sugar or spoiled candy, wafting from the skin you once cherished. A 2022 study in cancer biomarkers shocked researchers. Ketones in sweat or breast discharge are a hallmark of late-stage breast cancer, distinct from sweat after a long day. Don't fixate on the smell alone. If your hand brushes a lump in your breast or armpit, even as small as a sesame seed, that's a signal you can't ignore. Skin on your breast turning rough like wind-weathered orange peel, nipples leaking unusual fluid, sometimes blood-streaked like red tears, or a lingering dull chest pain are terrifying clues. When that sweet smell wraps around any of these signs, your body's waving a red flag, not a cosmetic issue, but a fight for survival. Men aren't immune either, though breast cancer knocks on women's doors more often. The National Cancer Institute logs over 280,000 breast cancer cases yearly in the US, with 43,000 lost forever, not because it's unbeatable, but because they notice when hope's door is nearly shut. Open it early, and your 5-year survival rate can hit 99%, a blazing light at the tunnel's end. Let it spread, and it falls below 30%, fragile as a lamp in a storm. Researchers find that as cancer advances, VOCs from the tumor explode, intensifying that sweet smell, like a ticking clock saying, "How much longer will you wait?" That gynecologist visit is etched in Emily's memory. A mammogram and biopsy left her stunned, early-stage breast cancer. The doctor said that sweet smell signaled a tumor quietly wrecking her breast tissue. Luckily, she only needed surgery to remove it and a light treatment, no hair losing, sleepless night chemo. Now, smiling among co-workers again, Emily shares, "I never thought a dreamy smell would drag me out of a real nightmare. If I'd waited a few more months, I wouldn't be here laughing with everyone today." Don't let that sweet smell lull you into a false dream. If your breast skin carries a lingering odd scent, if there's a lump, discharge, or changes, don't sit there soothing yourself with, "It's probably nothing." Rush to a doctor, an oncologist or gynecologist, for a mammogram, ultrasound, or biopsy to sort it out. Breast cancer doesn't wait for you to wake up, it's lurking, and only you can end that nightmare before it's too late. 4. A sulfur smell in your breath, a sign of stomach cancer. Stomach cancer is a dangerous disease, often tough to spot early because its initial symptoms are vague and easily confused with everyday digestive troubles. One sign few notice is a sulfur smell in the breath, not the usual bad breath from food, but a sharp, egg-like stench that lingers unusually long. If you catch this smell sticking around, even after thorough hygiene, don't assume it's a minor issue. It could be a warning that stomach cancer is silently growing inside you. Stomach cancer often starts with Helicobacter pylori infection, a bacteria that attacks the stomach lining, causing chronic inflammation and eventually a tumor, per the American Cancer Society. As the tumor grows, it damages the protective lining, trapping food longer and breaking it down wrong. This triggers anaerobic bacteria in the stomach to produce hydrogen sulfide, a sulfur gas with that rotten egg stink, which escapes through your breath. A 2020 study in the Journal of Gastroenterology found that stomach cancer patients have significantly higher hydrogen sulfide levels than those with acid reflux, making it an early biochemical red flag for the disease. It's not just the smell. If you feel a dull, lingering stomach ache, frequent nausea, or unusual bloating after eating, stay on guard. Losing your appetite, dropping weight for no reason, or spotting blood in your stool or vomit are more serious signs. When that sulfur smell pairs with any of these, it's an urgent alert from your body. Stomach cancer creeps along quietly, so catching these early signals is critical. The American Cancer Society notes about 26,000 stomach cancer cases diagnosed yearly in the US, with over 10,000 not making it, mostly because it's found late. Catch it early, and your 5-year survival rate can hit 70%. Once it spreads, it drops below 5%. Studies show that as stomach cancer worsens, VOC levels rise, sharpening that sulfur smell, a sign your treatment window's shrinking. This isn't something to ignore, every day counts. Don't reassure yourself it's just diet. If you notice a sulfur smell lingering in your breath, with stomach pain, nausea, or unexplained weight loss, see a doctor right away, ideally a gastroenterologist or oncologist. Tests like an endoscopy, CT scan, or blood work can nail down the cause. Early detection not only boosts recovery odds but also spares you from heavy treatments like full-body chemo. Take Tom's story as an example. A 47-year-old chef from Chicago, Illinois, Tom spent over 2 decades in bustling Italian restaurant kitchens. Passionate about food, he'd taste test bold dishes, from spicy tomato sauce to garlic and chili beef stew. In the winter of 2021, he noticed a strange sulfur smell in his breath, not leftover spices, but a sharp, rotten egg stench that made him grimace while brushing his teeth. A culinary pro, he thought, probably from tasting too many spicy dishes, and kept at his busy work, standing hours by the stove. For a month, the sulfur smell stuck around, even after he cut spices from his personal meals. A dull stomach ache started, not intense, but enough to bother him when lifting heavy saucepots. His appetite, once his greatest joy, faded, even his favorite pasta turned bland. One night, at a gathering with old chef buddies, his close friend Carlo frowned and said, "Tom, your breath's off, you okay?" That comment, paired with Carlo's worried look, jolted Tom. He realized this wasn't simple anymore. Though reluctant, Tom booked a gastroenterologist appointment days later. After a stomach endoscopy, the result hit hard: early-stage stomach cancer. The doctor explained the sulfur smell likely tied to a small tumor affecting digestion. Fortunately, caught in time, Tom had surgery to remove part of his stomach and recovered without chemo. Back in the kitchen with good health, he tells diners, "I never thought my breath was warning me. Going early was the best call I ever made, it saved me so I could keep cooking." 5. A rotting meat smell on your skin, a sign of skin cancer. Over 100,000 Americans hear yearly, "You have melanoma, a dangerous skin cancer," and 7,000 never make it home, just because it's caught late, per the American Cancer Society. Catch it early, though, and 99% can survive 5 years, let it spread, and that drops below 30%. What's the signal? A horrific rotting meat smell on your skin, not regular sweat, but a stench like something decaying on your body. Rachel, a 35-year-old elementary teacher in Tucson, Arizona, never thought that smell would be her skin's cry for help after years hiking under the desert sun. Melanoma starts in pigment cells, melanocytes, damaged by UV rays or BRAF gene mutations, per the American Cancer Society. As the tumor grows, it invades the skin's surface, causing necrosis, local tissue death, turning your skin into a battlefield for Pseudomonas aeruginosa bacteria. Lurking in open sores, this bacteria gnaws at dead tissue, releasing putrescine and cadaverine, compounds with that rotting meat reek. A 2021 study in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology notes putrescine as an early chemical marker, distinct from typical infections. It began in summer 2023 when Rachel slipped during a field trip with students, leaving a small scratch on her left shoulder. Just a minor infection, she figured, applying antibiotic cream and prepping lessons. But the smell didn't fade after 2 months, despite careful cleaning and fresh bandages. If you see a mole darken, grow unevenly, or expand fast, or a sore won't heal after 3 or 4 weeks, bleeds, or itches endlessly, don't convince yourself it's nothing. When that rotting meat smell joins any of these, it's an urgent alarm. Melanoma spares no one, regardless of skin tone or age. Don't wait, rush to a dermatologist for a biopsy or imaging. Early detection can save your life and dodge major surgery or chemo. Rachel grew worried as the sore swelled, bled, and the surrounding skin darkened like spilled ink, but she still thought she could handle it at home. Then one afternoon, teaching class, a student innocently asked, "Miss Rachel, why does your shoulder smell funny?" It struck like lightning, and trembling, she booked a dermatologist visit for the next day. A biopsy confirmed it, early-stage melanoma. The doctor said the rotting smell came from tumor-dead tissue. Thankfully, acting fast, Rachel only needed surgery to remove the affected skin, skipping chemo. Now, she tells parents at meetings, "I never thought that smell was cancer. If I'd delayed, I wouldn't be here teaching your kids." 6. An ammonia smell in your urine, a sign of kidney cancer. Kidney cancer, often renal cell carcinoma, RCC, starts in the tiny tubes filtering blood into urine, caused by gene mutations like VHL or long-term toxic chemical exposure, per the American Cancer Society. As the tumor grows, it wrecks filtration, letting urea pile up instead of being safely flushed out. Urease bacteria, like Proteus mirabilis, in the urinary tract break urea into ammonia, a sharp, pungent chemical stench, far from the usual urine shifts tied to diet. A 2018 study in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology shows high ammonia in urine as an early sign of cancer-related kidney damage, not dehydration or routine infections. Each year, about 76,000 Americans get a kidney cancer diagnosis, and over 13,000 don't survive, mostly due to late detection, per the American Cancer Society. Spot it early, and 93% can live 5 years, let it spread, and it's below 15%, like sand slipping through an hourglass. As cancer worsens, VOCs in urine spike, sharpening that ammonia smell, a sign your survival clock's ticking. David, a 50-year-old construction engineer in Portland, Oregon, never thought much of that smell. In fall 2022, amid busy days on bridge projects in the damp Northwest, he winced at the sharp ammonia stench in his urine every bathroom trip. Eating lots of beef at worksite lunches and skimping on water, he shrugged, "Probably just my diet," and kept working late, reviewing blueprints. Blood in your urine, pale pink or deep red, is a serious red flag. David also felt a dull backache on his right side, near the kidney, not crippling, but nagging when he sat long. He chalked it up to age and hard labor. For 3 months, the smell lingered despite drinking more water when he remembered. Unexplained fatigue and weight loss are warning signs too, like your body's draining its vitality. One morning, David panicked seeing pink-tinged urine, his heart racing. His wife, Susan, noticed his quiet mood at dinner and asked, "You okay?" He confessed, and she insisted, "Go see a doctor now, no excuses." When that ammonia smell mixes with blood, back pain, or fatigue, it's an urgent cry, kidney cancer's stealthy but relentless. Don't brush it off as not drinking enough. If your urine carries a persistent ammonia smell, with blood, back pain, or odd fatigue, get to a doctor fast, a urologist or oncologist, for an ultrasound, CT scan, or urine analysis to find the cause. Early detection saves lives and spares heavy treatments. David grudgingly saw a doctor that weekend after Susan's push. An ultrasound and CT confirmed it, early-stage kidney cancer. The doctor said the ammonia smell tied to a tumor weakening his kidney. Luckily, he had surgery to remove part of it, skipping chemo, and now tells co-workers, "I didn't think that smell mattered. Thanks to Susan, I turned it all around." 7. A metallic smell, a sign of blood cancer. Unexplained, lingering fatigue, not the exhaustion after a long day, but a feeling like your body's vitality is drained despite rest, is a red flag. Fevers that keep coming back with no cause, frequent infections, or bruises popping up on your skin without a bump, these are worrisome signs. But one clue few suspect is a metallic smell, like rusty iron or old coins, wafting from your breath or sweat. If you notice it persisting, unrelated to food or your surroundings, don't dismiss it as trivial. It could be your body's urgent warning. Anna, a 41-year-old salesperson in Lansing, Michigan, felt the shift in winter 2022. Bustling at a home goods store, standing hours helping customers, she lived in a small apartment where the tap water sometimes smelled faintly metallic. But this time, the iron-like whiff came from her breath, rising every time she spoke. "Maybe I need a new water filter," she mused, switching to bottled water, but the smell clung for 3 months. Blood cancers, like acute myeloid leukemia, AML, or lymphoma, start with mutations in the bone marrow, where blood cells are made, from radiation or chemicals like benzene, per the American Cancer Society. Cancer cells disrupt red blood cell breakdown, piling up free iron that oxidizes into ferrous ions, escaping through sweat and breath with that metallic tang. A 2019 study in Blood Advances flags high ferrous ions as an early chemical sign, unlike regular body odor. Anna also felt unending fatigue, needing breaks mid-shift. Then one night, she froze, spotting unexplained purple-green bruises on her legs. Over 170,000 Americans face blood cancer yearly, with 50,000 lost, mostly from late detection, per the American Cancer Society. Catch it early, and 5-year survival can hit 60 to 70%, depending on the type. Let it progress, and it's below 20%, like a flickering lamp in a gale. VOCs surge in severe stages, sharpening that metallic smell, a sign time's running out. Don't chalk it up to just stress. If you smell metal lingering, with fatigue, fevers, or odd bruises, rush to a doctor, a hematologist or oncologist, for blood tests, bone marrow biopsy, or CT scan to pinpoint it. Early action saves you and avoids full-on chemo. Anna told her sister Karen over a weekend call, and Karen urged, "Go now, don't downplay it." Next morning, anxious, Anna saw her family doctor. Blood tests and a bone marrow biopsy confirmed it, early-stage AML. The doctor linked the metallic smell to a chemical imbalance from the cancer. Thanks to Karen's push, Anna endured 6 months of chemo and fully recovered. Back behind the counter, she tells customers, "I never thought that smell was cancer. Without Karen and going early, I wouldn't have made it." 8. A sweet, fruity smell, a sign of lung cancer. Lung cancer is among the deadliest diseases, tough to catch early because initial symptoms are vague and often mistaken for routine breathing issues. One unexpected sign is a sweet, fruity smell in your breath, not typical bad breath from eating, but a strange odor like fermented or spoiled fruit, lingering unusually long. If you notice this smell sticking around, even after thorough hygiene, don't think it's minor. It could warn that lung cancer is quietly growing inside you. Lung cancer, often from smoking or radon exposure, starts with cell mutations like KRAS or EGFR, per the American Cancer Society. As the tumor grows, it disrupts oxygen exchange, forcing cancer cells into abnormal sugar breakdown, the Warburg effect, producing acetone, a ketone with a sweet, fermented fruit scent, released through your alveoli when you breathe. A 2020 thoracic cancer study found acetone as a hallmark in early-stage lung cancer patients, distinct from diabetic or diet-related breath. It's more than the smell. A cough lasting over 3 weeks that won't quit, shortness of breath even at rest, or a dull chest ache signal trouble. Unusual hoarseness, persistent fatigue, or unexplained weight loss are grave too. When that sweet, fruity smell joins any of these, it's your body's urgent cry. Lung cancer moves silently and fast, so spotting early signs is key. The American Cancer Society logs over 235,000 lung cancer cases yearly in the U.S., with about 130,000 deaths, mostly from late detection. Early diagnosis offers a 60% 5-year survival rate, metastasis drops it below 10%. Studies show worsening lung cancer boosts VOCs, intensifying that sweet smell, a shrinking treatment window. This can't wait. Every delayed day shifts the outcome. Don't assume it's just fruit you ate. If that sweet, fruity smell lingers in your breath, with a stubborn cough, breathing trouble, or odd weight loss, see a doctor fast, ideally a pulmonologist or oncologist. A chest X-ray, CT scan, or bronchoscopy can find the cause. Early detection ups recovery odds and avoids harsh treatments like major surgery or full chemo. Mike, a 55-year-old trucker from Reno, Nevada, learned this the hard way. For over 30 years, he roamed western U.S. roads, chewing strawberry or orange gum to stay alert in the cab. In spring 2023, he noticed a strange, sweet breath smell, not his gum, but like fermented fruit, wafting out when chatting at rest stops. He laughed, "Too much gum, I guess," and kept driving Nevada's dusty trails. For a month, it lingered despite switching to sugar-free gum. Then a dry, persistent cough hit, over 3 weeks, forcing him to stop for air. Climbing into his cab one day, he felt breathless, lungs struggling. Worried, he told his longtime co-worker Joe during a delivery. Joe frowned. "Mike, that's not right. Get checked, don't ignore it." Though hesitant, thinking he was fine, Mike couldn't shake the unease. That weekend, he saw a pulmonologist. A chest X-ray and bronchoscopy stunned him, early-stage lung cancer. The doctor tied the sweet smell to a lung tumor. Caught early, Mike had surgery to remove part of his lung, skipping chemo. Back on the road, he tells friends, "I never thought that smell was cancer. Without Joe and going early, my life would have veered off." 9. A burnt oil smell, a sign of liver cancer. Liver cancer is a deadly disease, often hard to detect early because initial symptoms are vague, mimicking digestion woes or fatigue. A little noticed sign is a burnt oil smell in your breath or sweat, not from food or your surroundings, but a sharp scent like overheated engine oil, lingering unusually long. If you catch this smell sticking around, unrelated to work or habits, don't dismiss it as minor. It could signal liver cancer silently growing inside you. Liver cancer, often hepatocellular carcinoma, HCC, stems from liver cell damage by hepatitis B/C or alcohol, per the American Cancer Society. As a tumor forms, it disrupts the liver's fat metabolism, leaving unprocessed fatty acids to pile up. These oxidize in the tumor's low oxygen zone, producing aldehydes, compounds with a harsh, burnt oil or molten plastic stink. A 2021 hepatology study flags aldehydes, especially hexanal, in breath and sweat as an early sign of liver failure from cancer, distinct from diet or job-related odors. It's not just the smell. A dull ache in your upper right abdomen near the liver is a clue to heed. Yellowing skin or eyes, unexplained belly swelling, or persistent fatigue are serious too. When that burnt oil smell pairs with any of these, it's your body's urgent warning. Liver cancer moves fast, so catching early signs is life or death. The American Cancer Society counts about 42,000 liver cancer cases yearly in the U.S., with over 30,000 deaths, mostly from late detection. Early diagnosis offers a 35% 5-year survival rate, metastasis cuts it below 5%. Studies show worsening liver cancer spikes VOCs, sharpening that burnt oil smell, a shrinking chance for treatment. This isn't ignorable, every delay shifts the outcome. Don't assume it's from machinery work. If you notice a burnt oil smell lingering in your breath or sweat, with belly pain, jaundice, or odd fatigue, see a doctor now, ideally a hepatologist or oncologist. An ultrasound, CT scan, or blood test, AFP, can pinpoint the cause. Early detection boosts recovery and avoids heavy treatments. Linda, a 48-year-old warehouse worker in Houston, Texas, spent over 15 years in vast depots thick with engine oil smells and rumbling machinery. A single mom to a teenage daughter, she was used to dusty, heavy-lifting days checking inventory. In summer 2022, she noticed a strange burnt oil smell in her breath, not the warehouse's oil, but a sharp, overheated engine whiff rising when she exhaled hard. Probably from standing near machines all day, she figured, pushing through Houston's stifling heat. For 3 months, the smell lingered despite drinking more water and avoiding long machine stints. A dull upper belly ache on her right side, near the liver, nagged her when lifting boxes, which she blamed on overwork. One morning, mirror-gazing, she froze seeing her skin and eyes turn faintly yellow. Her longtime coworker Juan noticed her tiredness and said, "You okay? Your skin's off, and your breath smells weird." That snapped her awake. She couldn't ignore her body anymore. Fearful yet determined, Linda booked a hepatologist visit the next day. An ultrasound and blood test shocked her, early-stage liver cancer. The doctor linked the burnt oil smell to a tumor weakening her liver. Caught in time, she had surgery to remove part of it, skipping chemo. Back at the warehouse, she tells co-workers, "I never thought that smell was cancer. Without going early, I wouldn't be here with my daughter." 10. A sour sweat smell, a sign of thyroid cancer. Thyroid cancer is tricky to spot early because initial symptoms are subtle, often mistaken for stress or hormonal shifts. A rarely noticed sign is a sour sweat smell, not the usual post-workout sweat, but an odd, sour stench like spoiled milk, lingering persistently. If you detect this smell in your sweat, unrelated to activity or weather, don't chalk it up to hygiene. It could warn that thyroid cancer is quietly growing inside you. Thyroid cancer, often papillary carcinoma, PTC, starts with cell mutations from radiation or genes like RD, per the American Cancer Society. As a tumor forms, it ramps up abnormal thyroxine hormone production, speeding metabolism and piling up lactic acid in your body. This lactic acid seeps through sweat glands, mixing with skin bacteria like Corynebacterium, creating a sour, fermented milk scent. A 2022 thyroid study flags lactic acid in sweat as an early chemical marker in thyroid cancer patients, distinct from heat or typical bacterial sweat. It's more than the smell. Feeling a lump in your neck near the thyroid is a signal to heed. Trouble swallowing, a choking sensation, or an oddly fast heartbeat are serious too. When that sour sweat smell joins any of these, it's your body's urgent cry. Thyroid cancer often has a good prognosis if caught early, but delays can turn deadly. The American Cancer Society logs about 44,000 thyroid cancer cases yearly in the US, with over 2,000 deaths, mostly from late detection. Early diagnosis offers a 98% 5-year survival rate, metastasis cuts it below 50%. Studies show worsening thyroid cancer boosts VOCs, intensifying that sour sweat smell, a call to act now. This isn't trivial, it's life or death. Don't blame the weather. If your sweat carries a persistent sour smell, with a neck lump, swallowing trouble, or odd heartbeats, see a doctor fast, an endocrinologist or oncologist. A thyroid ultrasound, blood test, TSH, or biopsy can clarify it. Early detection ups recovery odds and avoids major surgery. Sam, a 37-year-old IT worker in Denver, Colorado, loved tech, spending hours in chilly server rooms with blinking screens. Buried in network fixes and code debugging, he rarely left his desk, sipping coffee and snacking to keep going. In fall 2023, he noticed a strange sour sweat smell, not post-walk sweat, but a spoiled milk whiff when shedding his jacket after work. Probably from sitting in the cold too long, he figured, typing on, barely minding his body. For 2 months, the sour smell stuck, despite more showers and new deodorant. Shaving one night, he felt a small, hard lump in his neck below his chin, painless but unsettling. Days later, swallowing felt off, like a block in his throat with every sip. Worried, he told his close coworker Alex at lunch. Alex snapped, "Sam, don't brush this off. Go get checked, now." Scared but convinced, Sam knew he couldn't ignore it. Next morning, he saw an endocrinologist. An ultrasound and biopsy stunned him, early-stage thyroid cancer. The doctor tied the sour sweat to hormone chaos from the tumor. Caught early, Sam had his thyroid removed and recovered without radiation. Back in the IT room, he tells friends, "I never thought that smell was cancer. Without Alex and going early, things could have been different. I turned it around that day." Your body's a marvel, always signaling when something's wrong, and these unusual smells we've explored, from the moldy breath of mouth cancer to the rancid stool of colorectal cancer, the burnt oil of liver cancer, or the sour sweat of thyroid cancer, aren't mere annoyances. They're early warnings, alarm bells you can't ignore. Through these 10 signs, spanning breath, sweat, urine, stool, and skin, we see cancer doesn't always hit with obvious pain or big lumps. Sometimes, it hides in subtle shifts only your attention can catch. Science proves VOCs, the chemical fingerprints of cancer, drive these smells. From the fruity sweetness of lung cancer to the metallic tang of blood cancer, each type leaves a unique mark, often early, before the disease spirals out of control. But here's the sobering truth: thousands of Americans die yearly from cancer because they miss these signals in time. Survival rates plummet when cancer spreads, from 90% to below 20% in many cases, showing time is everything. These smells aren't random, they're your chance to act before it's too late. You don't need to live in fear, but you can't ignore it either. A persistent moldy breath, ammonia in your urine, or rotting meat from a sore, any of these, paired with symptoms like pain, fatigue, or odd changes, is reason to book a doctor's visit now. Simple tests like CT scans, biopsies, or endoscopies can clarify and save you. Don't let doubt or busyness stop you. Your health deserves priority. Now you know, your body's talking to you daily. Don't let these signals fade into silence. If you notice any of these smells or suspect something's off, act today, see a doctor, share this with family and friends, and spread awareness. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, hit like if this helped, and subscribe for more vital content. Together, we can turn awareness into power, action into hope. Your health is priceless, protect it now.